fans, welcome to part 2 of How to Find the Perfect Coach, where Jenny and I continue our discussion about practical, pragmatic ways that you can go about on your journey to find that perfect coach to work with you and help you reach your goals. Also, we are working on a guide to take all this cool information and put it in your hands or digitally on your phone so you can have all the ideas here at your fingertips. So enjoy part 2 of How to Find the Perfect Coach. I love Be Curious. Curiosity is a major personal value of mine. I highly value curiosity. I love asking the questions and wondering out loud. And I take very few things at face value, not because I'm a cynic, but because I go, gosh, I wonder about that. What are some possible exceptions to that? How true is that in every case? So I love the curiosity, and that absolutely goes a long way in your coaching search. Not only curiosity with who should my coach be, but curious as far as your own intentions, because that has a lot to do with finding the right coach. Is what do I really want out of this? If not a specific outcome, it's what kind of relationship do I want out of this? One thing I knew for sure is because I had been in counseling environments before, some better than others, I knew what I didn't want.
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes it's just as important.
Yes.
One of the things I appreciated greatly about Matt, my current coach, is our environment. Well, our virtual environment is very warm, very casual, very friendly. And I wanted that desperately because I had been in, I use the word cold, and I don't mean that to sound too negative, but I would go to a medical office building and check in at the sliding window and push the button and wait for my turn and go down a hallway of closed doors into their small office and close the door. And they would sit with the clipboard. And that's not necessarily wrong or bad, but I was not very comfortable in that environment. So I knew I was curious enough to say, I'm not quite sure what I want, but I definitely know what I don't. And Matt and I, when we get on calls now, we're both hiking. I will put in my noise canceling AirPods, and he'll put in his, and I could hear his feet crunching through the forest, and we could hear birds and stuff. It's like I'm hiking with a trusted, dear advisor and mentor. And that is for me, that is the perfect environment for life change to happen. So I was curious enough to know that I know some things I want. I know some things I don't want. And those were big things in helping to make that choice.
That's good.
If I could, no, go ahead. I'm going to circle back to one more thing on Be Curious, but go ahead.
Well, as you were saying that about the environment and what you didn't want, what came up in me, because I've had many therapists and counselors too, was that I knew a tendency in me was to people please. And so I've had a couple of really great counselors who in my heart, I would have, if you looked in there, like, what are you thinking, Jenny? I would have been like, I'm going to say the answers that will impress this person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak from a very female perspective. I know me. I'm not saying this is true for any and all females, but sometimes as a female, I would find if I had a male counselor, I would find myself kind of wanting to impress that person. I know that goes back to some issues with my own father, but I had to very carefully choose who I was going to counsel me through my divorce. And I knew right away that needed to be a female. I wanted that. And I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not going to say the right thing. I knew I needed, and that healed a lot of my relationships. So that when I came to you, honestly, I wasn't thinking, are you male or female? I was thinking, I need help. And at that point, I was able to choose someone of the opposite sex, because I had kind of worked through that. I'm not going to impress this person. That's not what I'm trying to do. But in my past, my younger self,
Yeah.
I would find myself not really even healed, but yet I would say that I was, so that that person would think highly of me. Isn't that funny how we can do that even in a counseling session?
Yep.
Um,
And so I think to that example, it does take that drives home the importance of the connection relationship you have. And I mean that in a professional way, the connection and relationship you have with your coach, because you have to feel safe enough to be vulnerable and say, yeah, I could give the correct answer here, but I'm going to give the honest one instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say the curiosity would also involve accepting motives, knowing if you have the tendency to want to people please, maybe, find that person that, like you're saying, feels safe, and you're not going to try to say the right answer.
Yep. One thing I was going to also say about being curious as far as the initial phases of your search go is just ask people.
I was going to say that too.
I think the more that this goes along with stigma, I think the more we have open conversations about having a counselor, having a therapist, having a coach, and being okay with, I'm not saying you need to, have a billboard and post about it everywhere and just, shout over a megaphone. But, when it's appropriate in conversation, when the opportunity does arrive, you could be honest and say, yeah, I've benefited from a coach. I've benefited from counseling. So if that's the case, you could feel free to ask people, like, if there's someone whose journey and respect or admire, you could ask about that. You could say, I'm considering finding a coach to maybe help me through this next area in my life. I've noticed in your life that you've, been able to overcome these things or do these sorts of things. Did you have anyone help you? Did you have someone you talked to? And you know what? They might not have had a coaching relationship, but they say, you know what? I didn't, but I've heard of this person or that person.
Yes.
Especially, again, like I mentioned, if it's someone whose life and whose journey you respect, getting a recommendation either directly or secondhand through them is a good way to get started.
I agree. I was going to say that too. To just notice people and be willing to ask if they've had some help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happens a lot more in like the physical space. Like, oh, I've noticed you've gotten stronger. I can notice your muscles, or your clothes are smaller size now. What did you do? What gym did you go to? Did you use a trainer? Did you have a nutrition coach? But when it gets to the mental or spiritual or emotional side of things, we're not so willing to have that conversation. I noticed you're a lot happier. Did you have a coach help you get there? Like, when's the last time someone's asked that question? Right.
And as you're saying that, I was like, if somebody asked me that, I'd be all like, well, thanks for noticing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's a great compliment.
Exactly. It's a fantastic compliment. Yeah, absolutely it is. Maybe I'm going to start complimenting people on their mindset.
Ooh.
That is a great, what you just said right there was totally awesome. Like, great job with that. Did you have anyone, a book, a podcast, a coach who kind of helped you with that? That's a good way to get that conversation started and to make someone, and to validate that in someone else.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we get enough of that.
Agreed.
I don't think we get enough of that.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about what that first conversation, that first call can be like? Because I think that's a super important step, is find someone who's willing to talk to you first.
Yes.
before entering into any sort of coaching agreement or relationship and have that call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you buy a car without test driving it?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't think of any major purchase I've made where I didn't try it out first.
Mm-hmm.
The house I live in, we walked through it quite a few times before we decided to buy it.
Exactly.
We had an inspection done on the house before we bought it. We test drove cars. We read reviews online. We didn't just say, I need a car. I'll take that one.
Yes. Yes. That's great.
So what I do, well, let me talk about my free call with Matt. Maybe you could share some of your experiences, and maybe we could share what we do in our free calls, because I know we both do it. So I went through that Wild at Heart. It's called Allies, not Affiliates. That Wild at Heart Allies network, and I scrolled through some of the coaches, and this kind of goes to the intuition of it. His like profile picture is him backpacking through the woods with one of those carriers with his child in the back.
Okay.
He's kind of like looking over his shoulder at his kid, and I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah. It resonated
like
with you. Yeah.
It did. It wasn't this, and I'm like, I'm speaking to myself here. It wasn't this professional headshot where he's smiling and folding his arms.
That's what I was going to say.
I have one of those.
Me too. That's what I was laughing.
I'm gonna have to change it now. So that really resounded with him. Like, this is just authentic. This is who he is. I'm really going to change my picture now. Oh my gosh.
I have it. It's the lean.
It's the lean.
The lean and your arms are crossed.
It's the glamour shot.
Oh, that's good.
So like, that was the first thing that jumped out. And I kind of read through his little profile, and I'm like, his messaging is around this idea of living free and bringing freedom on behalf of others. And I don't know why, but that idea of, freedom, living free, that really resounded with me. Yeah. So I didn't know what I wanted, but that idea resounded. So I booked a call with him, and the successful thing about my free call with Matt, and this happened one other time with a business coach, that I ended up signing up with as well, is it wasn't a sales call. We didn't talk at all about how much he charged. What are the sessions like? How long do I have to commit for? What other packages do you have? Matt wanted to learn about me and what I had tried in the past, what I hope to accomplish in the future. And by the end of the call, I already felt helped.
Yes.
I wasn't just, and I did, I gathered information because that's responsible, but I didn't just gather information. I already felt helped. I already felt seen. I already felt validated. And honestly, I left that call feeling a little hopeful. Similar quick story with a business coach I signed up for, like, gosh, about 5 years ago, shortly after I bought my affiliate. I called for help about a couple specific things. They helped me with it. And then they were done. Like, okay, glad we could help. We'll talk later. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Aren't you going to try to tell me what kind of services you have? Like, well, only if you want to hear about it, but you reached out to us for a free call to help you out, and we're here to help you out. And I'm like, that's weird. You're just going to help me?
It's a new concept. Yes.
That call is super, super important for you as a potential client to partake in.
Agreed. Right. I would say if you feel a sales pitch coming on, put up your little feelers.
Oh my gosh.
And see if that feels good or right. And then even if you want to accept that sales pitch, I would say pause.
Yes.
maybe call them back the next day after you've slept on it and talk to other people. Because if that person really wants you as a client, they will wait. It doesn't.
Yep.
I have been on a call that is very pressured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't going to come around again. This offer, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
oh, do I?
Yeah, and you're kind of. To me, I pictured my body like yay inside, but then sometimes that people pleasing kicks in, or that people are going to make you believe that something is very scarce.
Yes.
And if I would say if it's meant for you, it will be there. Even if you want to do it, you could pause and come back.
I kind of want to, only because I've learned this and seen so much of it, especially in the health and fitness space. Mm-hmm. There is a formula for having that sort of subversive sales pressure conversation with people. Mm-hmm. I almost want to like post that formula. If your conversation starts to go this way, run, don't walk.
Get out.
Get out.
Yes.
Get out. I might post some hints.
Oh, that's good.
Because it's based on emotion. Yes. They try to get you emotional about the current state of discomfort you're in, and then try to get you emotional about this possible future state that you could be in if you let them help you. And because you're at an emotional state, it is, and what they teach is buying should be an emotional decision, not a logical one. And I'm like, you had a great point. Like, don't make that decision. Sleep on it.
Yeah.
Call back later. If it's the right opportunity, if that's what the divine has for you to do, if that's what God has lined up for you to do, it will be there.
Yes.
It will not go away. This isn't a limited time offer. Spots are not going fast.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. If you get on that call and it starts to feel uncomfortable and you're like, wait a second, they're leading me by the nose somewhere. That should be a sign to hang up. I 100% agree with you.
Agreed. Yes.
I agree with you.
And I've made mistakes, and I think you have too.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard the little saying, it's not fun, but you learn the most from the mistakes you make.
So true.
I know.
So true.
Yeah. So take our mistakes we've made.
Yes.
Listen.
Listen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say collect as many of those free calls as is necessary for the process. Don't become addicted to going from free call to free call to free call, thinking that you're making progress. But absolutely positively take advantage of those. I offer those. I've never worked with anyone who I haven't helped for free first. Never happened. And whether that's like, well, no, it's always been a one-on-one call. Even when I've talked to people in a large group setting, and they've wanted to move forward, I've even said, hold up, let's get together and let's do a call. I will even do a quick, especially if it's the first time in contact with someone, let's do a quick 15 minutes. And this will just be to make sure I'm the kind of person who can help you and you're the kind of person I can work with. And then I will sometimes even after that say, so let's do 1 hour so you could experience what it's like to be fully coached by me. And then, only then, if we're both committed and this is a hell yeah, then let's go forward. I've told people if it's anything less than a hell yeah from both of us, let's wait. Let's wait.
Agreed. That's what you told me.
Is it? All right.
You did it right.
I did it. I followed my own formula. Good.
Okay. As you were talking, I wrote down hell yes, because I am the same way. I have said that too. If you're not like, hell yeah, I want to do this with you, then it's not the right time.
Absolutely. And for me, it was a hell yes for Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, I'm like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy that, and this is a bummer because this weekend, not only am I like launching the podcast, the kids have all the sporting events, but this weekend is my wedding anniversary. And so we have, we're going downtown to see Moulin Rouge off Broadway.
Oh, cool.
Super excited for that.
Yeah.
But I'm missing, we do these community events with my coach. He brings some other of his clients along, other people he's mentoring as a coach. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to miss that.
I think you've talked about these. Yeah.
Yes, they're so good.
That's cool.
And I'm so bummed I'm going to miss it. But I'm like, Matt, my wedding anniversary takes priority. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that illustrates the point that Matt was a hell yeah. Mm-hmm. And I did my due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
I did my due diligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What else when it comes to finding a coach? So we talked about being curious,
mm-hmm.
Like you and I both kind of did, is we researched people we knew and we liked. We
resonated
what books,
with. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what podcasts they might have been on, what books they might have written or been mentioned in. Research them,
mm-hmm.
talking to people you know and respect.
Mm-hmm.
Even a little bit of Google can
mm-hmm.
work sometimes. It worked for me.
Social media gets a lot of bad raps, and I understand that. But I think too, I have found people through social media, even
mm-hmm.
like a video comes up that resonates with you. You could start to look at that person's profile and maybe follow them and get even information that way.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Especially if they're willing to help out a lot in their social media and not just post salesy sort of stuff.
Yes.
We also talked about knowing a little bit about what you want out of coaching, mm-hmm. and equally important, things you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Those can start to create kind of like filters to help you narrow down your decision making.
Yes.
Always take advantage of free introductory calls and sessions.
I mean, can I stop you there? Would you go so far as to say if a coach does not offer that's a red flag?
For me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are circumstances where they might not offer it because maybe they just can't take on new clients. Right. I think that's different.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, again, I'll go back to Matt. Right now, he's kind of full. Mm-hmm. So he's actually been referring some of his clients to me.
Okay.
So he's not offering that, not because he wants to skip that part and go right to sales. He just doesn't have the capacity to take on new clients.
Yeah. And then you would have the free call with them. Aha.
Right. And for all I know, he still might have those free calls before he sends them on to me. Because that's just the kind of guy he is. Mm-hmm. But
so it's a red flag if you're not. Can I actually talk with this person?
Yeah, can they help me first?
Mm-hmm.
If they can't help me first, I would be hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting we're having this conversation. It's a slightly different space, but it's a good parallel. So again, Jenny and I both come from a health and fitness perspective. We're both very active in the CrossFit community. At our, I owned an affiliate and coached at an affiliate. She's coached at an affiliate. The gurus in that fitness professional space are crazy. They're so bad. There's so many bad stories to go along with those sorts of coaches. I read a good one today from friends of mine. I'll just mention him by name. It's fine. His name is Scott Carpenter, and he runs a coaching business to help fitness professionals. There was a post about him today where, without someone being his client who was in trouble, they were, behind on rent or couldn't pay rent, considering closing the business, he helped that person out, even though they weren't a client, said, here's some things you need to do. Here's a couple types of emails I want you to send. And here's kind of like how I want you to navigate working with people. And apparently, I don't know if you believe everything you read on social media, but because of that help, within a couple weeks' time, this guy made enough money to pay his rent and he's going to stay in business.
Yeah.
All without that person being his client.
Wow.
And so I saw that story and I was like, you almost make me wish I still owned my own gym, because I would consider working with someone like you, because you're willing to help first. And Help First is also the name of a book by my former business mentor, Chris Cooper, and one of his coaches, Josh Martin. They helped me for the longest time when I was an affiliate owner through Two Brain Business, because they have this help first mantra. So yeah, if people aren't willing to help you first, if a coach isn't willing to help you first, even with just a free call to talk you through some things and maybe give you a tip or two, I would be incredibly skeptical of that.
Yes. 100%. Yes. So you were going through a little recap. I stopped there to make sure like people realize it's red flag if you can't talk to someone for free, so to speak, first and feel helped, or at least hopeful.
Yes. Helped and hopeful. That's great. Yeah. I'm writing that down. Helped and hopeful.
And I will say on my first call with you, the word I wrote down that you gave me was permission. I think I've mentioned that. So maybe even after a call with a coach, you feel permission to pursue that little thing that wants more.
Yeah. Because even for some people, and this has happened before, for some people, just in that free coaching call, they got the insight they needed, they got the help they needed, and they were good to go.
Right.
And I'm like, God bless you.
Great. Yes.
Go ahead. You're good to go. If you need anything else in the future, let me know.
Yes.
So there are instances where that's the case.
I agree.
On the flip side of that same coin, you should walk away feeling helped and hopeful. On the flip side of that coin, if at any point you feel like this is becoming salesy, stop and run.
Exactly.
And then the last thing we talked about, marinate on it. Don't make a decision right away. Sleep on it. But only move forward if it feels like a hell yes.
Yes.
Anything less, you run a major risk of huge buyer's remorse.
Yes.
Huge buyer's remorse.
Yes.
What on earth did I just spend my time and money and energy on?
And that buyer's remorse will come out in the energy in the sessions. You won't get out of it what you there's resentment, there's doubt, you won't be able to hear. Yes. 100% what you said.
Because trust is maybe the most important factor in your coach-client relationship. You need to be able to trust your coach enough to allow them to speak into your life and to call out things in your life.
Yes.
And if you're dealing with buyer's remorse, like I rushed into a decision that I'm suddenly not very sure of, good luck with trusting that coach.
Yes.
For better or for worse, good luck trusting.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think what we need to do, well, before I go into that, what else about the process of finding a coach do we need to touch on and help our listeners with? Okay, I think I'm at that same point. I just wanted to check with you before I moved on.
It's a test. You tested me.
I know.
It's good.
Well, because I'm like, this is good. This is good. What am I missing? All right, good.
Okay.
So Jenny, I think what we should do is, we gave all of this information in this episode. We're on an hour now, almost 2 episodes. I know. And we recapped it here nicely. I think what we should do for people is we should write up a quick little cheat sheet. The quick down and dirty guide to finding the right coach for you.
I like it.
And what I'll do is I'll create that document and then I'll have it for a free download. We'll just give it to folks.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That way, because that way you have something tangible and actionable in your hand, and you could feel like you were helped by listening to this podcast episode.
We're giving you some real information that you can apply. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
In the off chance, Jenny, the very rare chance that someone out there in podcast land is saying, but how could I work with you guys? I think we should also post our email address down here. We are all woven at gmail.com. That's for the show and for Jenny and I. And if you're interested in coaching or just a free call, you can talk about anything from health and fitness and nutrition to spiritual life, relationships. Reach out. And Jenny and I can give you a link to our calendars, and we'll be more than happy to give you a free call. We promise not to sell you.
No.
Is that cool? Can we do that too?
That sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome.
Yes.
Brilliant. Anything else, Jenny? This was a good one.
It was good. I think
Fantastic.
I'm looking at my notes. It looks like we hit it all.
I think so too. And I'm going to get to work on that little free guide for everyone. That's something nice to give away to everybody here who listens to the podcast, follows us on social media. We'll make sure we get that in your hands.
Yes. So. Great.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody in podcast land. Jenny, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy launch day.
Yes.
I hope you have a fantastic weekend coming up too.
Yes, same. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.